It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
From the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're watching, whenever you're listening, I hope you're doing all right. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328. 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all of their fantabulous properties. That's right. If you're looking to stay somewhere, make sure you stay at the Holiday Inn property. My favorites, obviously, the Holiday Inn Express, because it makes me a smarter person, and Holiday Inn Resorts. And no, wait, there's more, because if you're going to travel and you are going to stay at a Holiday Inn property, you got to use the Billy C discount. All you got to do is call our toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364. Or if you're like me and can't remember phone numbers, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the banner, which you can't miss. It's on the right-hand side. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you get a copy of this book right now while you're watching and listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. And it's a good one. Coming up later in the week, like tomorrow, we're going to be doing our Blast from the Past featuring former world light heavyweight contender James Scott. Also, Larry Hazard is scheduled to join us. And, it's kind of a connection there because James Scott fought most of his career. It might have even, in the beginning it was in Miami, but most of his recognizable career in the state of New Jersey. It happened to have been behind bars, but still. So Alex Papali will join me in telling you about James Scott. Actually, one of my favorite fighters watching as a young lad. So curious to get Larry's thoughts on that and some other things. Today, I wanted to talk about a few things coming up a little bit later on the show. We will have some thoughts, my thoughts on Oscar De La Hoya. What happened to Oscar De La Hoya, man? I mean, this guy was one of my top favorite fighters. I mean, the Golden Boy. You know, he busts onto the scene. He captivates many different types of audiences as a professional fighter. Never ducked anyone. Challenged himself all the time. Then went on to seemingly have a successful promotional company in Golden Boy Promotions. And now he's kind of transformed into an idiot, whatever you want to call him. Nothing like he used to be, at least in my opinion. So, now he's threatening Triple G. What happened to Oscar? We'll talk about that in a little bit. And also a little bit more on Vasily Lomachenko and, his standing as pound for pound fighter. Where you think he is, I think you got to slip him in the number one. I'm sorry, you really do. He's a special fighter. I'll talk more about that. But first, I want to talk about a ruling that took place yesterday in the U.S. Supreme Court concerning sports betting. Now, in Europe, specifically England, you can bet. I mean, I notice a lot of guys are always talking about putting wagers on boxing and other sports and what have you, and it's very easy to do. Here in the States, we have one state that it's actually legal to bet on sports, and a couple of others that were kind of fuzzy, like Delaware is one of them, but specifically Nevada and more prominently Las Vegas. All the casinos have sports books, and if you're an American and you're a sports fan and you've never been in a Las Vegas casino sports book, you got to check it out. I mean, I love it. As a matter of fact, we did this show from the sports book at Mandalay Bay for a week. We were promoting a fight that was taking place out there. I believe it was a Pacquiao fight, either a Pacquiao or Mayweather fight. It was one of the two, and I loved it. Not only did we do our normal show, and not only was I in an environment that I absolutely love, but all the people that were visiting the sports book, that were placing bets or what have you, enjoyed the show because it was like we were piped in. The studio was right in the sports book. We were piped into the sports book so people could listen to the show. We were able to bring in a lot of guests that interacted with the sports betting customers, and it was fun. And now this ruling yesterday by a score, voting 6-3 voting, has taken the federal ban off, which means that now states will decide whether or not they will legalize sports betting in their state. And New Jersey, specifically Atlantic City, which has casinos, was pretty much ready to roll. And as a matter of fact, from what I understand, New Jersey will be able to start accepting sports bets as soon as next week or as late as the week after. So we're talking about within 2 weeks. New York State is also, they have a deadline of June 20th maybe, whether they're going to vote on having it this year in time for football. Now, the vote also helped the Native American Indian reservations that are owned and on the reservation casinos that are on the Native American owned properties. They claim that they're ready to roll now. So I mean, this is going to be very quick. My question is, what kind of an impact do you think it's going to make on boxing? As far as football or baseball or other sports, I could see that making a big impact fairly quickly because, most people are betting on specifically football, NFL football, and college football. Big betting public loves to gamble on football and, basketball as well. But football leads the pack here in the States. Boxing years ago used to be very prominent in boxing, betting. Boxing and betting was prominent. A lot of people bet on boxing, and today the odds are so skewed. You watch a fight, and it's not uncommon to see the odds on, like for the A side, that you have to lay out like $2,000 to win 100, and on the B side, not even bet 100 to win 2,000. The odds get kind of skewed. It's sometimes you'll see, you'll lay in 2,000 to win 100, and if you bet 100 on the underdog, you're going to win maybe 1,500 or 1,450 or something like that. Some crazy thing where basically the sports bet place, or the bookie, if you will, here in the States, is the guy that's got that pretty big gap. So when things happen, like crazy things like draws happen, and you see a bookie, all right, for for lack of any other description, take these bets where, personally, I'm not going to lay $2,000 to win 100, but I may be inclined to throw 100 on the underdog to win 1,500, just because. And a lot of people do that, and the bookies make out. There are some people like these horse bettors. I love watching these guys. I don't know anything about horses, but I see a lot of these guys that'll go and bet the favorite and win money. They'll talk about, I hit that race, I won that race, I won that race. But what they're not telling you is they're betting the favorites, and they're winning. They're betting a $5 bet, just say for argument's sake, and they're winning back $1. To me, like we're always talking about in the sport of boxing, risk versus reward. Sometimes it's not worth it. But then you see these widespread lines on boxing, laying $2,000, winning 1,500, and then all of a sudden the fight comes out as a draw. Well, guess who cleans up in those events? The sports book or the bookie, etc. So my question now, really, and you guys, drop me an email, let me know what you think. But what kind of an impact do you think the legalization, if you will, of sports betting in the United States will make on boxing? Will it increase the people who wager on boxing? Will it kind of force boxing to make more even fights? Now, we have seen a lot more even fights, which would be attractive to throw some money on. I'll give a shout out to some guys that are watching on our Facebook Live simulcast, my man Jeff and Ed and Eric. I want to give a shout out to all those guys. Good morning to you all. I'm glad to join us. What's your thoughts? I mean, I may even open. You know what? Let's do it. Let's open up the phone line. 845-228-8710. 845-228-8710. What's your thoughts? Will the new ruling for sports betting in the United States make an impact on the sport of boxing in any way, shape, or form? Me personally, I don't know. I don't know. If it can force the powers that be, which traditionally we haven't been able to force them to do anything, to make more even fights more often. Okay, so don't criticize what I'm saying, because I'm not suggesting that we're not seeing evenly matched fights at times. They just seem like they're far and few in between. There's a definitive A side and a B side. And, typically when that happens, the A side is the big time favorite, and the B side, well, she's an underdog, or he's an underdog. I didn't mean she meaning he. I meant, she, whatever. It's like you name a car, oh, I hope she makes it to the store today. Why is it a she, But anyway, I personally, I don't know. I don't know. The same lines and odds that have been in the sport with these skewed and uneven matches have been going on in the UK for a while, and their betting community is thriving. So hey, there's a lot of people that'll bet on anything. Which sandwich the fly is going to land on first. I remember that. Hey, listen, that was actually something that me and my buddies used to do. If we were sitting there eating sandwich, okay, who's going to get a fly? And we used to say, whose sandwich is going to get puked on by a fly first? You're sitting outside eating, and it's like, you don't want to put your sandwich down because some fly might land on it. And in case you guys didn't know. Every time a fly lands on something, they're puking on there before they eat it. But in any event, will the new ruling that took place yesterday affect the sport of boxing? What's your thoughts? So we'll see what happens. We did start a little early today. Not sure why that happened, but it did. But in any event, some comments. Even though I like to do the super chats in the chat room, but we got some comments in the chat room. I'm talking about in the YouTube chat. We got some comments concerning, it says, will increase the corruption in boxing. I'm not sure if that's, a valid point. And the reason why I say that, nothing against my man who posted that, but the reason why I say that is because, corruption in boxing has always been there. And like I said, the sports betting is legal in the UK. So, I'm actually thinking that it would help even up I thought it would help even up the fights, especially if there's a lot of money on it, But anyway, there's I got some comments I'll look over. I can't see because I'm getting old and I can't see the far away anymore. But I got some comments I'll check out during our break. But in any way, I think that I think in a sense, I mean, yes, I will admit, I like to wager on football. I'm a football, baseball bettor. Boxing occasionally, if I see a dog that I'll throw a couple bucks on just to make it interesting. But the truth of the matter is I actually think it may help the sport because I think that because you can make some money on it, the fans, there'll be an added interest level. I think that the fights we could start to see more evenly matched fights instead of these laying $2,000 to win 100 favorites. I think, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we're going to see 50-50 fights forever now. But we might see, something like a laying 300 to win 100 or laying 100 to win 200. I mean, that's more reasonable of a bet, I think, so we'll see what that brings us. But anyway, that's what's going on with wagering in boxing. Our break schedule today is going to be a little mixed up because we did start a few minutes early. So with that said, I think I'm going to take a break now so I can get some of these comments on our Facebook simulcast and include them with this show. With this before I move on, because I got some emails to read, and I'm also wondering what happened to Oscar De La Hoya, man. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, such a guy that was so respected, and we forgave him for so many things, the fishnet stockings, the cocaine, the drunken disorderly stuff, the illegitimate kids that have floated around. I mean, all these things that have popped up with Oscar De La Hoya. Seemingly, people have forgiven him, but he just seems to be becoming like a slime ball promoter. Richard Schaefer. Listen, make no mistake. Richard Schaefer was the guy who kept Golden Boy Promotions going in the right direction. Oscar De La Hoya, a great fighter, a Hall of Famer, but how good of a promoter is he? His only guy right now is Canelo. And ever since he took the reins, ever since Richard Schaefer kind of bailed out, Canelo Alvarez has clearly followed the blueprint that Floyd laid out. That worked for Floyd, but I'm not so sure it's working for Canelo. Canelo is not the biggest name in boxing anymore. And I got news for you. He lost a lot of fans through this PED scandal. So I want to talk about that a little bit, but I got some comments on the wagering that I'm going to put together here and fill you in on. I do have the phone line open. Once again, I know we don't do it too often anymore, but it is open, as is the request for Super Chats in the YouTube chat room. So listen, if you want to call in, make your thoughts, comments, questions heard, just give us a shout. That's 845-228-8710. Listen, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, I got some Facebook comments to talk about, and, well, we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Hos Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology used to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Hos belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Hos' patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Hos belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could join us. And before we went to break, I know it's a little out of whack, but we got our simulcast going on in Facebook right now. And some of the comments were like, you know, they feel that some people were saying, not specifically, it rolled too quick, so I couldn't see who said what, that they thought that more draws would come into play because of the fact that money on it. And like I said, the bookies make out when a draw happens unless you play the draw. Also, a comment by my man Eric said the odds might be swinging towards the fan favorite fighters versus the one with the better skill set, which would be interesting. And he's not that far off because, depending upon a lot of times odds, listen, in Vegas, in legal sports bet books situations, odds are adjusted based on the money that come in. So in other words, if all the money's coming in on side A, they'll start to adjust those odds to entice people to bet side B. Because at the bottom line, a sports bet, a bookie or a sports book, they make their money on what they call the juice. The juice is the money that's in between. If you have the even amount of money bet on one side as you do on the other side, well, you know who wins? The bookies. They win. But anyway, we have a caller on the line right now, and I think it's my man Joel. Is that you, Joel?
It is. What's up, Billy? How are you?
How you doing, my man? Well, how's things? What's your thoughts on this new ruling about sports betting allowed in the U.S. outside of Las Vegas?
I mean, I think it's cool. I've never gotten into it, but I can imagine for some people I know that who like to bet that it's good for them. I just for me it's just not an issue because I mean I like to discuss fights and who's going to win, and I do a fantasy league with the UFC, but it's free. But I don't know, I'm not. I mean, it's interesting. I'm sure it'll help a lot of people legally bet, but I don't know. Just not. I don't know. Just not something I've put too much thought into. What about for you?
Well, I think that first of all, boxing used to be, the premier sport to bet on, aside from horse racing. Before the popularity of the NFL, and a lot of times if you go back in history, a lot of corruption was due to sports betting, and specifically with boxing, a lot of times they would have those three fights. The first fight, so and so wins in his hometown. The second fight, the other guy wins in his hometown, and then the third fight is the real one. That's the unwritten thing that actually happened in the sport. So I think that it will help in a sense of because there'll be more pressure on the fights, because of the betting public, to make the fights even. Because you remember, Joe, like I even talked about it sometimes. Like I recall a Klitschko fight specifically, a Klitschko fight where Vladimir Klitschko, you had to lay out something like $2,500, and those odds are based on a $100 bet. So you're laying out $2,500 to win $100, and he's fighting some guy that if you bet $100, you only win in $1,000 or $1,200. So the difference between that is unbelievable because people that don't gamble might think, hey, I bet $100 on the fight. You pick your guy, I pick my guy. Whoever wins $100. That's not how it works. It's sort of like
exactly. I agree.
Yeah, it's called a money line. But I don't know. I think that I think that it's good. I like the fact that sports betting will be available here in the States like it is over in England. So I think it's going to be good.
I wanted to actually call in and ask you, what is your thought, because you've always talked about this over the years, how everything's going to, streaming and, thankfully you have a couple different outlets besides YouTube for your show. But how do you feel that the next Terence Crawford fight, you have to pay or subscribe to ESPN Plus, that streaming service for $5 a month? Now, I thought that when Top Rank made this deal with ESPN, that it would be like similar to HBO. We'd have all the big Top-ranked guys, Lomachenko, which we had on Saturday, Terence Crawford, on the main ESPN platforms, hoping maybe even it would expand to like an ABC, because I think it's all the same company or Disney. But it's frustrating that, I mean, I am paying for it because the UFC also signed a deal with ESPN starting next year, so you're going to have the ESPN Plus for them. But I just feel like for these cards that were either on HBO or regular ESPN, that you're going to have to spend an extra $5 on top of whatever people may be paying for Netflix or Hulu to enjoy this this, to enjoy a regular fight.
It's interesting that you asked me this because it's been bugging the heck out of me since it was announced, and I'll take it a step further. The deal that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing has signed too, and $1 billion deal, and blah 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 blah. Well, DAZN isn't even available in the U.S. yet. So they're promoting that streaming service. My thoughts on the ESPN Plus. I don't like it, and I'll tell you why. Let me rephrase it. I like that you can watch streaming, wherever you are. Love that. But I don't like the fact that you are forced to watch it on streaming platforms. I think that ESPN Plus should offer it as a channel package, depending upon now. Think about it. Think about the money that they could increase. Okay, you may have to subscribe. You see, what they're trying to do is they're trying to eliminate the television network or the TV carrier. The Cablevision type companies, the satellite type companies. They're trying to eliminate them and go directly because they don't want to split their revenue stream, because that's how it works now. If I'm trying not to mention specific companies, even though I just did, like a satellite company, they split the revenue. So they'll say, okay, listen, we'll put your channel on our service, but it's going to cost X amount of money. So by doing these streaming deals, what's happening is you're eliminating the middleman. So that $5 a month is going directly to ESPN. That's their plan. But I think it's premature. I think that they needed to wait until we were able to choose as the consumer whether we want to watch on our TV, our handheld, our whatever other platform we want. I think, and like I've said for years, like you mentioned, we're going to be paying a service fee, X amount of money for what we want to watch, and then we'll have the option of watching it wherever we are. If we're in our living room with a couple of scotches, then we can watch it on TV. If we're on the road, and we don't want to miss the fight, we can watch it on our phone or our tablet or whatever. So I don't like that you're forced, and I'm a little ticked about the Terence Crawford fight specifically.
Me too.
We're talking about a pound for pound top guy that we're going to be forced to watch on a streaming device that we don't even know if they got all the bugs out of it yet. No, I'm not happy with that. I think they should have included that as an addition, at least initially. Once it got off the ground, then they could divorce the television providers from that point. But right now, I mean, it's like boxing, Joel. The way we see it is even being divided. You're going to see the greed factor. They're all going to have their own networks. Top Rank's going to have their own network. They're all going to go direct, and it's just going to become a free-for-all. And we're going to end up paying more because to watch Golden Boy fights, we're going to have to subscribe to their stream. To watch Top Rank, their stream. So I could see some bumps in the road, but overall I like the fact that it's so available, but I wish that it was just as available in my living room. You know what I mean?
I think, you make a good point. It started too fast. Maybe what they should have done is how Showtime, even though, of course, we pay for Showtime, they air, once in a while they'll air on their Showtime YouTube channel, or, like an Anthony Joshua fight that's the main, broadcast of Sky Sports, but they'll air it on Showtime. It should have started off like that, something where a European fight, a big European fight, or maybe a smaller American fight. Okay, you gotta, you want to watch this, decent card from Puerto Rico or, the Europe. You have to go on ESPN Plus. But to have like Jeff Horn versus Terence Crawford, which is like an amazing fight, and some people, are tight. Their budget's tight. I know it's $5, but they have other expenses. And for them to expect it's going to be on ESPN, turn it on that night on June 9th, and see that it's not on, it's going to be a little disappointing. Like I said, they should have started off with smaller fights, and then gradually, like you say, make the divorce. But to just throw on Jeff Horn and Terence Crawford, I know that Filipino guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's I don't know if he was a protege of Pacquiao. He's a champion at like 115, or I think next week or the week after. He's on ESPN Plus. it's like, but then they have Gilberto Ramirez the end of June on regular ESPN. So go figure that.
I think that for me, I thought that the biggest, and one of the things I was trying to launch several years back was streaming for all the club shows. I think that is the most important, because then it gives us, the fan, an opportunity to meet and learn about other fighters that are out there that are performing in club shows that a lot of times we don't hear anything about. To me, the value in streaming is there. To put the big fights on streaming at this stage, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. Once again, you're getting a guy like Terence Crawford. What they're banking on is that people want to see him so bad that they're going to subscribe to this service. Then maybe they back off and put the lesser fights on. But I think it's a mistake. I think they should have cut a deal with the television distributors and brought that on as a channel, and then go from there. That's just my thoughts. I think to be forced to watch it on your phone, especially that fight. I mean, like I said all along, eventually, sooner than later, it's all going to be the same. But right now, it's not. And I don't want to have all these different services. Everybody's trying to cut the cord as it is from the cable companies or whatever, and go with streaming. And here's the other thing, though, Joel. You mentioned Hulu and other services like that you can get television shows. It's not available on there either. So the problem is that they're becoming separate. Again, more division. And I just don't think. Our show, this show is on TV, radio, internet, YouTube, et cetera, a podcast. And the thing is that I've always said that boxing is a niche within a niche. Sports is a niche. Boxing's a niche within that niche. So why would you take and want to separate yourselves from all that potential new sets of eyes, and by just appealing to a boxing community and say, hey, you want to see this fight, you got to get it on your handheld. You got to stream it. That's it. I would want to put it on a network initially, at least, to try and win new sets of eyes, so that when I merge and leave and try to cash in, I potentially bring fans with me rather than try to fleece the fans that exist already. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like you say, boxing is. It's not as popular as baseball. If they wanted to do it with ESPN baseball, that's fine. Hey, you want to watch an out-of-town game, you live in New York, you're a fan of the Miami Marlins or something. Okay, that's cool. I can understand that. But you make a good point. Boxing is a niche sport, and I think that it's important to keep on, you have a deal with ESPN. Okay, keep it on ESPN. And then, how PBC did, put it on ABC. Okay, we have Terence Crawford, a special Saturday night, maybe once or twice a year on ABC primetime. That's a big deal. That's what they should be shooting for. Not going the opposite way and saying, hey, you want to see Terence Crawford, it's going to cost you $5 extra because he's on ESPN Plus.
Right. And the thing is that it's going to cost you, forget the extra cost. What I like about streaming is it's a convenience, right? You can watch it anywhere you are. But the truth is, if you are at home, would you prefer to watch it on a handheld, or would you want to watch it on your television set?
I mean, some people like I have a Chromecast, so I'll cast it to my TV. But the problem today is a lot of the phone carriers, if you're out, if you're not in Wi-Fi range, you have to use your data on your smartphone. And to watch your video costs a lot of money. You'll eat up a lot of data. So preferably, if there's a big fight on and I'm not watching something else, I'm going to make sure I'm home, and I'm going to make sure. So yeah, to answer your question, I want to be home. I want to watch it on my regular TV. I don't want to have to be out somewhere and say, I have to put on the fight and then worry about, paying $5 for the service and then using all my data if I'm not on. There's so many other variables.
Exactly. I just think that they jumped the gun a little quick on it. I love the concept. I just don't like that it's yet another fee that you're paying. And, it's the greed factor, Joel. It's the greed factor. But anyway, listen, my man, I appreciate you calling in.
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe
I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much for everything. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later.
You too, brother. I appreciate Joel giving us a call. We have been keeping the phone line open these last couple of days. So if you want to, if you got a question, comment, concern, give us a shout. 845-228-8710. To move on here, I wanted to actually, you know what? I'm not going to. I'll take another break here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to mention what I was talking about with Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya, when I look at Oscar De La Hoya and his career as a fighter, it's hard to criticize Oscar. I mean, Oscar was successful in the amateurs. He made that transition to the pros seamlessly. He was a big fan in the pro ranks. He fought. One of the things that I always admired about Oscar is he never ducked anyone. He fought the big fights. Wasn't afraid to get the L. Took chances. He's a Hall of Famer, and rightfully so. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, one of the best fighters of all time. Really, he's an all-time great. When he made the transition to a promotional company, the Golden Boy Promotions, he had Richard Schaefer as the guy who was driving him. I'm talking with somebody in the Facebook community right now, and Richard Schaefer, was the driver behind that bus. There's no question about it. Oscar was the name, and Richard Schaefer was the brains from the promotional aspect. If you recall, Oscar De La Hoya was still fighting. Used some of the revenues from his fights to bank and finance Golden Boy Promotions. Under the guidance of Richard Schaefer, he was able to grab some young talent, sign them, all this at the same time. And by the way, I believe that this is the blueprint to success in the promotional business, where you have some big names that are draws still, and you surround them with a lot of young talent that you homegrown. You grow your own talent, and you put that young talent on the undercards of the name fighters. And then when those name fighters fade or retire, now you had already introduced some of these young fighters to the boxing world, and poof, they're there. They've become stars. Well, when Richard Schaefer left, they had that deal because he kind of walked away, and he had to stay out of the sport of boxing for a bit. Now he's kind of slithering back in. He was responsible for the World Boxing Super Series, which, by the way, is excellent. And he formed another promotional company, and he's in the process of getting back in the mix. Now, while he's on the way up, and you got Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing clearly at the top. You have Top Rank always where they were at the top. You have main events, and Golden Boy still to a degree because of the name. All of a sudden, you're sitting here saying to yourself, well, what's happened to Golden Boy? They have one fighter, really, and that's Canelo Alvarez. A lot of rumors about the way he treated Saddam Ali, who was under contract with him. Saddam Ali making a title defense against Mungaya the other on Saturday. Didn't even make $500,000 for that fight. Made $400,000, and that's before he's got to pay his expenses, and everybody takes their cut, et cetera, and he took a beating for that money. I don't know what they paid Mungaya. It seems that Oscar is kind of like a fish out of water, but it gets worse. This whole fiasco between Canelo and Triple G, let's make no mistake, all right? Let me just start off by saying this. I'm a fan of Canelo. I am not a fan of what he's become of late. More of a prima donna, even though I've always thought he was a diva, but he's more of a prima donna. And this whole PED scandal, he kind of has been smart by not saying anything. However, I thought it was pretty pompous of him not to even show up for the hearing in Vegas, even though they didn't do anything to him. That gutless, spineless piece of garbage, Bob Bennett, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission not doing the sport of boxing any favors with the way they handled that. Or even the Triple G Mungaya, saying that he's not experienced enough. But the truth of the matter is Oscar's trying to spin this like it was no big deal. And he even went on to say that he thought it was outrageous that people were giving Canelo such a hard time, that it wasn't a big deal, when it was. It was a big deal. Because when you have a premier top name like Canelo testing positive, I ask you this. What would have happened if Floyd Mayweather, who many believe was on the juice, okay? Many believe he was, all right? But never proven, unless somebody can unseal the Manny Pacquiao thing, but never proven to be on PEDs. What would have happened if somebody had actual proof and dragged him and he tested positive and all the same things happened to Floyd that happened to Canelo? What about the outrage that people would have had, myself included, that he would have been, popped for that? I mean, no way would have the word, hey, you're taking, this is outrageous that you think this is a serious thing. No way would he have been able. They would have crucified him. Okay, well, why isn't the same happening with Canelo? Now it gets even worse. Oscar's saying to Triple G, who he's trying to make be, the guy the culprit. And he's trying to twist it so Canelo is being the victim. And now Oscar's saying, well, hey, listen, Triple G, if you don't want to fight, we'll find somebody else. I've said all along, Triple G doesn't need Canelo. If I'm Triple G, I don't even fight Canelo. Listen, I'm going to take a break. This will be the last one for this show, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology used to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673. Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad to have you with us today. And, today when I was looking at I get up every morning at 4 a.m. and I write this show. But I was saying to myself, man, there's not much to talk about today. I figured I was going to be live for about a half hour and then try to explain myself to the television and radio networks that'll be going, what happened to the show, Bill? But a lot to talk about with the sports betting, and it's something that hits home with me. I'm a sports bettor, so. But this Oscar thing, here's something I want to, and I'm going to talk to Larry about this tomorrow. But Oscar De La Hoya basically said to Triple G, "Hey, if you don't fight Canelo, we're going to find somebody else." And the issue here, in a nutshell, is that they've already submitted the contract to fight in September to Triple G, and Triple G hasn't signed it yet. And, I look at this and I say to myself, you know what? Triple G should be the guy in the driver's seat. I mean, fair is fair. Like Triple G, which is not characteristic of him, he really was vocal about not only the fact that Canelo tested positive when they were supposed to fight recently, but he also was kind of pissed off at the fact that he had to give up and give in to every single consolation that Canelo made. Everything was geared towards Canelo. And, Triple G was pissed. He says, here I do all this stuff. I'm ready to fight, and now Canelo fails. And he wants some of the things in his favor. And I think he deserves it. I think Triple G deserves it. Now, can he make a ton of money fighting Canelo? He certainly can. But you know what? If the Nevada State Athletic Commission and that gutless, spineless piece of garbage known as Bob Bennett didn't have the balls to inflict and lay down a suspension that was worthy of setting an example to a big name like Canelo and slap him on the wrist so the guy actually does what he wants and prolong the fight another 6 months so that Triple G ages, goes and gets some surgery taken care of that he wanted to do. I mean, it just seemed so perfect for Canelo. And he's the guy that, was the cheater. And now Oscar De La Hoya is threatening Triple G. I say that Triple G has many more options right now. First of all, Triple G doesn't have nothing to prove as far as fighting Canelo. We all, or at least most people, believe that Triple G won the fight. I know it's in the history books as a draw, and it will always be considered a draw. And as time goes on, future generations aren't even going to understand what it was about. They're just going to look at the record. Hopefully they'll be able to watch the fight and make a judgment for themselves. But right now I think that Triple G has a big fight with Billy Joe Saunders. I think that fight would get him some money, especially if he goes and travels over across the pond, something that Triple G is not afraid to do. If I'm Triple G, that's the route I take. And I say, forget about it. And I make a big state about it. I tell everybody that the reason is because I don't want to fight a cheater and blah, 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 and discredit Canelo. And let's see who steps up and he fights. Because who else can Canelo fight that would have as much interest as Triple G? Yeah, you could tell me that he could go fight Billy Joe Saunders instead of Triple G. You could tell me he could fight Daniel Jacobs instead of Triple G. You could tell me he could fight one of the Charlo brothers, instead of Triple G, and still make a decent amount of money, but he's not going to make as much. He's not. Here's the part that bothers me. The truth of the matter is that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy have already laid out the contract to Triple G. And according to their side, Canelo has already signed it, and Triple G has not. I want to fill you guys in on some rules about commissions and suspensions. Now, I have been a licensed promoter in several states, and the most reputable state that I was licensed in happens to be my home state of New York. And the rules in the state of New York stated that if a commission suspends a fighter, that said fighter is not able to participate in any type of boxing activity. That includes going to the gym and training, etc., etc. Now, if they're going to stay at home and train, privately or whatever, that's a different story. But you see, in New York State, a gym that trains or professional boxers train at, actually, by the rules of the New York State Athletic Commission, has to be registered with the New York State Athletic Commission. So that the reason they do this is so technically a pro fighter is technically not allowed to spar with an amateur. That's the rules in the New York State Commission laws, okay? But the other rule states that a fighter is on suspension. Technically, they're not allowed in a gym. Now, once the suspension is lifted, then a fighter can resume his or her activities, meaning training. As far as I know, excuse me, this includes signing contracts. If you're signing a contract for a fight, that one of the fighters is under suspension, and even though the contracted date is beyond the projected suspension lifting. Now, when a fighter gets on suspension, it doesn't automatically get lifted. In other words, if you're a fighter and you're on a 6-month suspension, you have to apply for reinstatement. What happens if along the way, in 6 months, during a 6-month period, they find, the interest in testing, just in this particular case, testing Canelo again, and he tests positive? Now, are they going to lift that 6-month ban? I would hope that the 6-month ban would become another 6 months, at least, or maybe a year. So how could you pressure another fighter into signing a contract, which in my opinion is illegal, before the ban is even lifted or before any test results have come in? I know that Oscar has said that Canelo will be tested from now until the next fight, but has any tests actually taken place? Not that I heard. So I don't know. I'm unhappy that Oscar is giving Triple G an ultimatum. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's even legal based on commission rules. Now, I'm going to ask Larry tomorrow on tomorrow's show whether it's legal in New Jersey and how he would handle this situation. And again, sometimes these contracts, now these big contracts, what you have is you have a contract that's signed between two fighters and all the other parties involved. And then when it becomes part of the fight itself, a commission, they have what they call a bout contract, which is the contract that stipulates the actual contract with that commission. Now, sometimes they have it separate. Sometimes they include the other contract, the big, long, really extended contract and all the intricacies. You know what I'm saying? I can't even. Isn't that weird? sometimes there's a word of the day that I just can't pronounce, like my last name. I can't pronounce it. That's why I say C. But anyway, I'm just curious to see what Larry says. Listen, I got to read some emails. I got a bunch of emails here to read. First and foremost, let's get my man Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C. Billy, it was an excellent performance by both." He's referring to Lomachenko against Jorge Linares. And let me tell you something. Yesterday I know I was giving Lomachenko tons and tons of accolades, and the truth of the matter is I didn't give him enough. Okay, so if anybody was critical of me by putting him as an all-time great already and putting him on a pedestal and saying that he's this and he's that, I still feel that way. And I got news for you. Fighters like Vasily Lomachenko come around once in a lifetime. And although, there have been other great fighters like him, if somebody told me, if he retired today, if I saw, on the wire that Vasily Lomachenko decided to retire today, and I had to put him in my all-time great list, I'm telling you right now that he would have in my opinion, he would have fallen way above Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. Those are the two hot names today. First ballot Hall of Famers. Both of them are going to get in. Obviously, if Floyd stays out of the ring, from now another 4 years, he'll be in first ballot. Personally, I think he's going to fight again because he's spending too much money and he owes the government again. But whatever. I'm telling you, I put Lomachenko ahead of him. And I don't want to look at titles and accomplishments and how many weight classes and records, undefeated records. It means nothing. A Hall of Fame means how good was the fighter? How good was the fighter? What impact did that fighter make on the sport? That's my criteria. How good he was in terms of skill set and what impact did he make on the sport in a positive or negative way. Doesn't matter. Floyd Mayweather made an impact on the sport in terms of marketing. He's been able to take a complete generation of fans and have them think that he's so great only because of his record and how much money he's made. But when the push comes to shove, show me a fight that he was exciting in. Show me one. Tell me a fight when you think of Floyd Mayweather that you think of. I say this all the time. You close your eyes and I throw out a name and you'll see that a fight will immediately pop in your head. Mike Tyson, several. Jack Dempsey, Sugar Ray Robinson, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. All these fights, you name a name, and great fights pop into your head, right? You say Floyd Mayweather, and to be honest with you, the fight that pops in my head first when I think of Floyd is the Pacquiao fight, and how anticlimactic it was, and how what a ripoff it was. Now when you think of Lomachenko, a lot of fights come in mind. I think of Lomachenko. I think of this guy pivoting and doing things that just seem impossible so flawlessly. This is a great fighter. Enjoy him while you can, because he could fizzle out just as fast as he's busting onto the scene. And that's what happens with fighters. Anyway, back to the email. He says, both look good. He says, I saw this fight was close, although I was at the gym working out, and I was trying to watch it. But what I was seeing looked very close going into the 10th round. This is the problem with Jorge. He doesn't throw enough, stays still and takes too many shots. He gets tired, and he has no head movement. He does fight in spurts. He looked good in that fight, but like I'm telling you, Lomachenko's a special fighter. He says, I can't say Lomachenko is one of the best of all time, but he's on his way to do big things. He was not Manny, who came from flyweight and exploding past Hall of Famers like Barrera, Morales, Marquez. If Lomachenko can do that versus Mikey Garcia, then he'll make me a believer. He did say after he wants to unify the winner of Mikey against Robert Easter Jr. I think he fights Beltran in August for his next scheduled bout. That's what the rumors said. Don't get me wrong, okay? And please don't start sending me the hate email. I'm saying if I had to make a decision today, Lomachenko would be up there if he retired today. Hopefully his career is at the beginning stages, and he'll give us an opportunity to put him where I believe he's going to end up, hands down. I'm just saying this after a performance against such a bigger guy and a talented guy. This wasn't against Lomachenko. What he did on Saturday wasn't against some slug. It was against the number 1 rated lightweight in the world, ahead of Mikey Garcia and ahead of Robert Easter Jr. So let's be real here, okay? As far as Mikey Garcia, for some reason, today's young fan expects fighters to move up and take on bigger fighters right away. They fight one guy, now he's ready for this guy. No, now he's ready for the next weight class. I think it was pretty evident and obvious that Lomachenko was, a lot smaller than Jorge Linares. A lot smaller. There was no question about that. It was not a case where, he was a little bit smaller. He was, smaller after they rehydrated. I mean, they were the same size after they rehydrated, except because they weighed the same. Remember that. They weighed the same on weigh-in. But it was obvious that Linares was much bigger. Mikey Garcia is bigger than Linares. Mikey Garcia, the fight that everybody wants to see, he and Lomachenko, I just don't think that I don't think it's an even fight. But then again, you know what? Lomachenko proved me wrong about fighting Linares, and he was much bigger. He's not going to knock out Mikey Garcia, and Mikey Garcia does throw a lot of punches. I think what would have to happen should that fight take place, which I believe it will, because Mikey Garcia will beat Robert Easter. I think that what will be on display with Lomachenko against Mikey Garcia would be a defensive show by Lomachenko. Lomachenko will have to be at his best defensively if he fights Mikey Garcia. And he's going to have to get out of harm's way a little more than he did against Linares. Linares, he was not even concerned until he got dropped. And not that he was hurt, because he wasn't. That was a flash knockdown, but it was a knockdown nonetheless, and it was a clear knockdown. But he did respect Linares' punching power after that. And I'm not so sure that Jorge Linares can punch as hard as Mikey Garcia. So if I'm Papa Lomachenko, I am making sure that should Vasily get in the ring with Mikey Garcia, that they are full-blown defensive-minded in that game. Because it has to happen. Anyway, moving on to the rest of this email from Jess. He says, Munguia was very impressive, but Ali looked so small. All punches were bouncing off Munguia, and Munguia was being very aggressive. Munguia needs to improve his overloading on punches, wide punches, more head movement, and jabbing. I wonder if Hurd and Charlo will be targeting him for his age at 21. I don't think Munguia has the experience for Hurd and Charlo, but he is explosive. Munguia versus Liam Smith, Dennis Hogan, Julian Williams, Islam, or Kell Brook. I agree with all those potential opponents. Charlo, the Charlo brothers have always fought smaller guys. Every time you see the Charlo brothers fighting, you're seeing a size discrepancy, just like we saw with Munguia and Saddam Ali. I also agree all the way with Jesse about his. To me, he seems slow. I'm talking about Munguia. He seemed slow. He wasn't using his jab, but I think that Saddam Ali made him feel that he was in no danger of getting hurt by Saddam Ali, and he just walked him down. Figured I was going to take him out. Now, as far as Jarrett Hurd, this is a guy that doesn't seem to get hurt. I want to see Hurd against Charlo. That's what I want to see. I want to see Hurd against Charlo. They both rose up similarly with their level of opposition. They're both big guys, and I think it would make a great fight. That's the fight I want to see. Charlo against Hurd. But I like all of the other suggestions from my man Jess. Next email, this is from my man Coach. And like I said yesterday, I gave him all the accolades. Big Saddam Ali fan. and he went against his heart and was 100% right. He says, hey, Billy C., I listened to the show waiting on a business meeting yesterday, and not to toot my own horn, but, and he put the but in big letters in red, following my head and not my heart, I called Mungaya. I don't want to hear size, 3 inches in height, but just a pound difference on fight night. I told you a work rate amateur who developed power and timing, maybe not as fast as Ali, but he timed him. As far as Lomachenko, check Friday's YouTube chat. I called Loma's jab, setting up the left to the body. Lomachenko is the Einstein of the real sweet science. First of all, kudos to Coach. He was definitely right on. I said it yesterday. I even said it when I caught it in the one of the chat rooms during the show on Friday when we were breaking down and giving you our predictions. So kudos to my man Coach. And I couldn't agree with Coach more about his accolades for Lomachenko. Do I think Lomachenko is the Einstein of the sweet science? Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because the truth of the matter is that he is the definition of the sweet science. I say this all the time. Floyd was successful in manipulating the fans of today to think that the sweet science is just hit and not get hit. That's all you hear. Oh, yeah, the sweet science, hit and not get hit. I even heard one of the commentators say it over the weekend. Oh, yeah, the sweet science, you hit and not get hit. Yeah, but, that was assuming the other part of that scenario, that you're still in position to hit your opponent again. Hit and not get hit, but still be in position to inflict damage on your opponent. That, my friends, is the definition of the sweet science, something that Floyd didn't do very often. He did it sometimes, but not very often. Lomachenko does it all the time. Lomachenko is he's never out of his range of landing a punch on his opponent. And then you have to look at other fighters that are similar. Terence Crawford, this is why I love TC, because TC is the same kind of fighter. TC is the same kind of fighter. Once he gets your number, once he feels you out, which he has a tendency to do in the first couple of rounds, this guy's in your face and you can't hit him. Same thing with Rigondeaux. Rigondeaux, come on, one of the greatest defensive fighters of all time. Yeah, and look who dismantled him. Look who made him quit on a stool. So come on. Yeah, give credit what credit's due. Let's leave everything else out of it and only give Lomachenko credit for his performances in the ring. Pound for pound fighter, I think he's number one. Right now, today, Lomachenko's number one pound for pound. Terence Crawford, number two. Triple G, number three. That's my top three. Okay? You could say what you want about Triple G. He's aging. He's this. He's that. He still possesses that pop in both hands that'll put a fighter to sleep. And as a ring general, the only guy that I see that can control a ring equally, if not a little better, is Lomachenko. There has not been, and I've made this statement many times, there has not been a fighter in professional boxing that was more of a ring general than Triple G until Lomachenko. So that's just my humble opinion. Not that I'm too humble. But. Another email here. Let's see. We got two more. This one is from my man Matt from Buffalo. Hey, Matt, you got my quarterback, man. Josh Allen is my guy. All right, I don't know if Matt's a Buffalo Bills fan. I know he's a fishing fan. I'm still waiting for the invite. But the truth of the matter is the Buffalo Bills, they gained a fan because I'm following the Bills because of Josh Allen. This kid is going to be the premier quarterback in the NFL. Give him 3 years. He says, hey, Billy C., I had the fortunate pleasure of sitting behind a blue corner ringside at Madison Square Garden. He says, I think it's rare in sports that you can see a sports performance of such high caliber out of a human being. It was like watching Jordan play basketball when I was a young man. This was simply something truly special and mesmerizing. The fight had drama, big drama show. Had drama, it had stakes, it had talent, it had speed, and a ferocious KO to end the evening. In our beloved sport, can it get any better? Lomachenko, as you said yesterday, is the epitome of the sweet science. I said it again today. He says he's an exciting ambassador of everything that this sport can and should be. Several of my college friends joined me in their first live boxing match, and I'm extremely jealous of that. That's like catching a 1,000-pound marlin on your first day fishing. I could say from experience that Lomachenko made quite a few fans on Saturday night. Before I go on, I totally get what Matt's saying here. They have that beginner's luck thing. But you know what? I think the most important sentence is the end. He may have turned on some of his buddies to professional boxing live, but what he really did was made some more fans thanks to the help of Lomachenko. And isn't that really, I mean, most of the people that watch this show are boxing purists, and big-time boxing fans. Isn't that really what we need in this sport? An expansion of the fan base? Don't we need more fans to follow the sport religiously? Have the ups and downs with the sport. Boxing is a peak and valley sport. You got to stick with it. We had times, I say this to people all the time. If you came up to me in 1985 and said, hey, do you think that you're witnessing the last great era of boxing, or do you think you're witnessing an era of boxing that is going to be looked upon 30 years from now as the last great era? I would have laughed at them. I would have laughed at their faces, despite the fact that we're watching Sugar Ray and Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns and Roberto Duran, et cetera, because there were so many. Despite all of that, at that time, I was not thinking that it was a great era. I just thought it was boxing. It's the way boxing was. As a matter of fact, I looked previously to other eras when I was like, oh, my God, this is some great stuff. Why can't it be like, early Ali days? Why can't this time be like the 40s and the 30s when these great fighters, that's what you're thinking in the 80s. Fast forward it to where we are now, and you say, well, the last great era of boxing was the 80s. And guess what? Long after I'm gone, fast forward another 30 years, people are going to be looking at this era that we're living through right now as a great era. It is. Whether we want to believe it or not, we can't compare it to eras gone by. But you know what? In its own right, we're living a great era right now. And fighters like Lomachenko and Anthony Joshua and even Deontay Wilder, a lot of people think I don't like them, which isn't true. But these are some good fighters. They're making the sport interesting again. He says, and by the way, Matt sent me some pretty cool pictures of his seats, great seats. He says, furthermore, this weekend had 4 televised cards, which I found each enjoyable. It seems like every weekend we have something exciting to look forward to. The public is starting to see what makes boxing the best sport of all. Just a few questions for you. He says, number 1, is Lomachenko your pound-for-pound number 1? If not, where do you stack him? I just think he has faced some more interesting opposition lately and dominated more than Crawford. I wouldn't argue too much with someone saying Crawford or Triple G. Terence Crawford, the reason why I love Terence Crawford so much, if you go back and you look at the beginning of his career, Terence Crawford was the B-side. He was brought in to lose. Everybody thought, he's got a good record. He's out of Omaha, Nebraska. What kind of sparring is he getting? What kind of fight? This kid, let's bring him in. He's good. And he won. It was 3 fights in a row that he was supposed to be the B-side. And he was. Go back and check me. You'll see he was the B-side. Then they realized, hey, whoa, hold on, Baba Louie. We got ourselves a talented fighter here. And then Terence Crawford became the A-side, and the rest is history. He did not get coddled and was hand-fed cupcake after cupcake. He didn't. He fought his way to where he is. He's a legitimate pound-for-pound. Now, with that said, I have him at number 2. I just said my number 1 is Lomachenko. Number 2 is Terence Crawford. Number 3, Triple G. That's mine. And by the way, Canelo's not in that list, boys and girls. He's not. He's not as well-rounded. He's got some flaws, big-time flaws. And you can't have a heavyweight as a pound-for-pound. In my rule book, a heavyweight is the king of boxing, and then every other division can vie for pound-for-pound status. He says, number 2, what dummy had Linares winning on their card? from my vantage point, this was nearly Lomachenko all night long. Some rounds, maybe, I just couldn't see Linares ahead. I'm with you. I was shocked that it was a 1-point difference for the guy who had Lomachenko. I was shocked that the one judge had it for Linares, and I was just as shocked that Julie Lederman had it even. I think one of the problems, and again, it's going to be a topic I'm going to discuss with my man Larry tomorrow, was that 10-8 round, round 6. My question is, did Linares win that round prior to the knockdown? I don't think he did. That knockdown woke Linares up. You got to give him that round, but I'm not so sure it should have been scored 10-8. I think, if best, that should have been a 10-9 round for Linares, and he clearly won the following round. Those 2 rounds were the only 2 rounds I felt hands down that Linares won. The other rounds were either all Lomachenko or close enough, and I thought that the more solid punches were landed by Lomachenko. Because when Lomachenko landed a punch, there was no doubt that it landed. When Linares landed a punch, they all seemed like, Lomachenko was rolling with it or was expecting it and had the counter right there. I'm with Matt here. The truth of the matter is what was happening, what they were trying to have happen, was they were setting us up for a draw. Listen, if Lomachenko didn't stop Linares, make no mistakes, and that's what pisses me off even more, to see those 3 judges the way they were. That fight was fastly moving on to end result as a draw. Regardless of who we all thought won, that fight was going to end in a draw. The only way it didn't end in a draw is Lomachenko crushed Linares with that body shot. End of story. If he didn't do that, I don't care if he pummeled Linares for the rest of the night, that fight was going to end in a draw. That's the problem with boxing, boys and girls. He says, number 3, how do you see a potential Garcia-Lomachenko bout playing out? I see Garcia as a dangerous with his size, but I think Lomachenko took on a more dangerous and daunting test. I think Garcia dodged Linares for some reason, or at least didn't take the opportunity for that fight. Hopefully it won't be long before we see it. I think the size is going to be the biggest biggest test for Lomachenko. I also think that Mikey Garcia punches a lot harder, especially at lightweight, than Lomachenko has received. I don't think Linares hits as hard as Mikey Garcia. I think that the biggest test for Lomachenko will be his defensive skills and the discipline part, where he's got to avoid the punch, counter him, and then instead of being – I think he's got to play a Floyd Mayweather. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. He's got to fight a Floyd Mayweather style, even though it might be boring. He's got to fight that style against Mikey Garcia because he has to respect Garcia's punching power. He can't stay in that pocket too long. You saw what he did when he stayed in the pocket and just came straight in without movement. Linares caught him. He can't do that for even a little bit against Mikey Garcia. There's no one more prepared for a fight than Mikey Garcia. And another thing about Mikey Garcia, if you land 2 punches on Mikey, you could bet your last nickel that he's going to come back and try to land 5 on you. That's why he wins round after round after round. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to happen. I don't like it, but it's going to be a great fight. And finally, he says, is 2008 starting to shape up to be a mega year for boxing? He says, heck, we just got $1 billion from Hearn in the sport. I think it picked up right where 2017 left off, and 2017 picked up right where 2016 left off. I think that we're in our 3rd consecutive solid year of boxing, and I couldn't love it anymore. That $1 billion deal from Eddie Hearn is kind of got an asterisk next to it. They made such a big deal about it, and that DAZN network isn't even available here in the States yet. So, I don't know who's getting all the money. He says, P.S. I'm booked for September. Where's all the other information? Sal better be cooking on September 12th when I show up. Yeah, we are working on that. There's been some unfortunate slowdowns in our, and that's why I haven't been talking much about it for our big event that we wanted to stage in September. One of the main places that we do it at is being completely renovated. So stay tuned for more info on that. The bottom line is this show is in its 15th year, and we want to have like a 15-year birthday party, and we kind of wanted to surround it around the big fight in September. That's why we picked those dates, and we wanted to do all this other stuff. So stay tuned. Sal and I have to make a decision, pretty quickly. And one of the issues I have is the fact that I'm not there. And, a lot of times Sal is too busy to do anything other than what he does on a daily basis, and that is not this show, like it is for me. This is my, I'm not a part-timer with this. I'm not I don't do something all day and then, for a hobby do this. This is it for me. That's why I'm broke. I'm like fighters. You're either feast or famine, But in any event. Finally, last email. This one's from Thunder Breslin. He says, I have a theory I want to share with you guys. The email from Daniel on Friday's show got me thinking. I don't believe, and let me just say this. The one thing and the blueprint of this show, when we first started it 15 years ago, was I wanted to have this show just be like a couple of people BSing about boxing as you were sitting at a bar or something, and you start striking up a conversation about boxing with your buddy or a guy sitting next to you or whatever. And that was the basis of this show. And then it evolved into being a very interactive show. And one of the most important parts of this show is the interaction and thoughts and comments and concerns from all you guys, the people that watch it and listen to it. So when I see an email that's commenting on another email, it makes me feel that we're doing what we set out to do, and that's good. I appreciate that. He says, I don't believe that there's one particular team that's dragging their heels trying to stop the fight between between AJ and Wilder being made. You guys know Anthony Crawler. He's the lightweight over here in the UK. Well, he's represented by Eddie Hearn, and it's very well known that Anthony is a lovely guy and one of our most loved boxers. I've never heard of a story of him ducking a fight or demanding crazy money. He fights at lightweight, and he understands that it's not the biggest money division. Now, Anthony has earned good money from boxing, and he's been saying for a number of years now it's about building his legacy. So with this in mind, whenever a fight has been talked about between him and someone else, that fight just gets made. Recently, he fought one of our most other loved fighters in Ricky Burns. Now he's back to Crawler, was also promoted by Hearn, and Eddie said it was one of the most pleasurable fights to put together. Why? Because they're two down-to-earth guys who just wanted to put on a good show for the fans, and they did it. It wasn't a fight of the year, but it was still a good fight. There was no horrible social media BS and flipping tables at press conferences. They just got in the ring and had a good fight. I believe that the problem between AJ and Wilder camps is that Wilder camp is just toxic. Wilder himself is clearly a horrible man, not the family man who we all know is dedicated, but the boxer who just spouts out garbage, pounds his chest, and says crazy things like he wants to kill someone. Add in Lou DiBella, who, when you listen to interviews with him, now talks about boxing like one would talk about a wife that you can't leave, but you really don't love anymore. Then add Shelley Finkel, who I didn't realize has been around for so long and is clearly one of those shady characters in boxing. I can't imagine what it must be like to deal with these people, and with that, it spawns negativity. I truly believe that this is just a vile situation that's only going to get worse, and that's why we're getting this crazy back and forth. People can slag off Eddie Hearn all they like, but he's good at what he does, and he's usually chipper and upbeat. But every time I hear him talk about the Wilder fight, he just has this beaten sound in his voice. We know boxing is a game of ego and money, and clearly the issue with the heavyweight division at the moment is that there's so much money to be had. I don't believe for a second that either of these fighters are ducking each other. I don't believe either of the camps are ducking each other either. I think it's a toxic environment with toxic people, and that's going to spawn a decent fight. For me, the more this goes on and on, the less I am interested in seeing this fight. That email from my man Thunder Breslin, I appreciate it. Let me say this. A couple of things. Number one, Shelley Finkel has been involved in the sport of boxing for a long time. He is a shrewd business guy, and he knows the sport. You could call him shady or whatever you want. I see him as being a successful guy. He was helped. He helped Mike Tyson big time. The truth of the matter is that I'm not so sure he's bad for the sport. Okay, look what he did with Danny Garcia. He was instrumental with Danny Garcia. He knew what he had to do with Danny, and he did it the right way. So that's Shelley. Now, Al Heyman is a crook. Everybody thought that he was going to save boxing, and he was going to do this and do that. Specifically, a lot of black fighters felt, he's going to help us. It's a black promoter and a black fighter. It's going to equal, helping us and doing all this stuff. And it's proven wrong. That Al Heyman is no different. He's a businessman. He wants to make money. He never reached in his pocket. I love when people say, Al Heyman, he's got a, he pays his fighters good. They get paid. No, he doesn't pay. He spends other people's money, and he gets his cut. That's what people don't understand. Al Heyman is Al Heyman. He's a successful businessman, and make no mistake, he's doing it for the money. He's not doing it for the goodness of his heart, okay? Out of the goodness of his heart. So that's Al Heyman. When you look at, and I'm looking at the only reason why I'm picking on Deontay Wilder's team is because Thunder said that he felt that they were toxic. Now, when you get to Lou DiBella was extremely successful when he was with HBO, and he's a successful promoter. But as a promoter for the fighters, he does nothing. He does nothing for them. Fast forward to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder pounding his chest, saying he's the best, saying he wants to kill someone, saying that this is a man who has, first of all, my personal feelings for Deontay Wilder are positive. I can see through that with Deontay. I see that he is a loving father. He cares so much about his daughter that his whole persona is created for the benefit of his daughter. This guy, his roots are very grounded. They're he comes from a normal situation. Yeah, okay, normal situation, living in the cities and stuff like that. He's gangster. There's no question about it. But he's a grounded guy. He puts on, like he said one time, the Bronze Bomber is my guy when I'm in the ring. I'm Deontay outside the ring. Now, I've never met Deontay personally, so I'm not going to, go one way or another. But I can see that he's a loving father, and I respect that he tries to do what he's doing for the goodness and for the benefit of his family. Now, with that said, that pounding of the chest and the I want to kill somebody, excuse me, and the bomb squad thing and all of that, Deontay was forced into promoting himself because he's latched on to a promoter that doesn't promote. And oh, by the way, the only reason Lou DiBella is even involved is because Lou DiBella is one of Al Heyman's puppets. The biggest mistake that Deontay Wilder has made in his boxing career is that he's aligned himself with Al Heyman, Shelley Finkel, and Lou DiBella. Now, I just finished telling you that Shelley Finkel knows the game. I still feel that way. And I'm not saying that Lou DiBella or Al Heyman don't know the game. I just think that Deontay Wilder should have aligned himself with a promotional outfit or / team that was willing to invest money in him. They have not invested any money in him. They have withdrawn money from Deontay Wilder, not invested. That's the difference, whether you like him or hate him, about Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has invested money in his fighter, in AJ, and all his fighters. The same thing with Top Rank. A lot of people hate Bob Arum. Well, Bob Arum invests money in his fighters. Does he want more out of it? And does he get it in return? Yeah, you get what you pay for. You know, Deontay's paying for nothing that he's getting. So I think that that team is responsible for that image that we have. And Deontay Wilder, I'm telling you right now, as sure as I'm sitting here, yeah, I'm sitting here, I am, that Deontay Wilder's going to end up with Eddie Hearn. Deontay Wilder is going to end up with Eddie Hearn. And this guy, whether he loses to AJ or beats AJ, he's going to become a household name just like Anthony Joshua. These two guys have more to benefit from each other than any other duo in the sport since Ali Frazier in the heavyweight division. I'm telling you this right now. You're going to see a 3-fight deal with these guys. And my suggestion was a 2-fight deal with the fight in the middle being, whoever they want. I think they should fight next, have a fight in the middle, and then fight again. But depending upon who wins the second fight, don't be shocked if this becomes a trilogy. And I'm telling you right now, the fights are going to be exciting regardless of who wins. There's no way that it's going to become anticlimactic. The style of these two fighters won't permit it. So, it is what it is. I think that this fight will happen. My prediction was it wasn't going to happen until next year. And I thought that the WBA was going to be instrumental in that. A lot of rumors have it right now, and a lot of the words coming out of Anthony Joshua's mouth and the sudden silence from Team Wilder are all indications that there is a deal that's been made. And according to Anthony Joshua, according to Eddie Hearn, just finer details are being worked out, which is good news for us. So, I'm going to have to admit to Sal that he was right if I ever let him back on the show. But anyway, so yeah, I think that the fight will happen. I still am sticking to my prediction that it won't happen until next year. But I would more than happy to be wrong on that one. That's for sure. But in any event, I appreciate that. Now, one last comment. I think that Oscar De La Hoya is being stupid with his demands over Triple G. I think the smartest thing that Oscar could do right now is give up some consolation to Triple G. I also think that Oscar's got to stop with the BS, that the PED scandal was serious. And I also believe that it's not even legal to negotiate or sign a contract with a suspended fighter. We're not even sure that Canelo is still being tested. As far as I know, he's back in Mexico eating tainted cheeseburgers again. So I don't know. The other thing, and these are all, the reason why I'm bringing these up is because I want your thoughts. So drop me an email tonight, Billy at talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. I also think that the sports ruling for gambling on sports in the United States, the feds have lifted the ban. Rumor has it that Atlantic City will have sports books open next week or the latest the following week. I also have word that New York is there, Delaware is there, Mississippi and Delaware and New Jersey are all ready to flip the switch. I mean, we're going to start seeing sports betting available in those three states immediately. New York is scheduled to vote on it by June 20th. And according to the Native American reservations who own casinos, they're ready to roll right now. They don't have to wait for any voting. So keep your fingers crossed. I think it's going to help the sport of boxing. I think that it's going to help because by having an infusion of gambling that's legal in the U.S., will kind of force some of these fights to be more realistic. Because if not, the sports bookies, so to speak, the betting houses won't be able to get the action. Not many people are going to lay out $2,500 for the A side of a fighter to win 100. They may throw 100 on the B side just for kicks, but not many are going to lay it out for the other side. But anyway, our trivia question today is a tough one, apparently, because no one even gave it a shot. And this one's actually a recycled one. It's a who am I question. I will give a hint today. I once stopped a world champion in less than one round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? I once stopped the world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Hey, before I go, I want to make sure everybody, including my man Eric in the Facebook chat, who's been here for the whole show, I want to give him a shout out. Eric Mullings, a great guy, and you guys know the name. So, and also my man Jeff and Jason, everybody else that was in there. Thanks for hanging out, and of course our YouTube chat room, which is kind of exploding these last couple of weeks, and we really appreciate it. So don't forget us on the super chats when we open up the super chat. Thursday is super chat, so I want to thank everybody there. Okay, so here's the hint. If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. Same one Alex will use tomorrow when we do our blast from the past on James Scott, one of my favorite fighters. Used to give me the chills watching him fight in prison. But here's the question, then I'm going to give you a hint. I once stopped a world champion in less than a round, and then in my very next fight, I stopped his brother. Who am I? The hint is that this guy was okay. Let's see. I'm gonna say, I got to write him down so I remember. Was a world champion. Okay, he himself was a world champion. So good luck to everyone on that. If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. On this day in boxing history, May 15th, in 1987, Evander Holyfield knocks out Ricky Parkey in the third round to win the IBF World Cruiserweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas on this day in 1987. On this day in 2004, Antonio Tarver knocks out Roy Jones Jr. in the second round to win the World and WBC World Light Heavyweight titles in Las Vegas. On this day in 1993, Charles Murray wins a 12-round decision over Rodney Moore to win the vacant IBF World Junior Welterweight title, and that took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey on this day in 1993. On this day in 1999, Cesar Soto wins a 12-round decision over Luisto Espinosa to win the WBC World Featherweight title in Texas. On this day in 1914, Joe Simons knocks out Percy Jones in the 18th round to win the World Flyweight title. It took place in England. And finally, on this day, May 15th in 1928, one of my favorite all-time fighters and one of the best all-time greats in the world, in the sporting world, and, of course, in the boxing world. On this day in 1928, Jack Johnson retires on his stool after the 6th round in a scheduled 10-round fight against Bill Hartwell in Kansas City. Johnson drops his record to 53 wins, 10 losses, and 8 draws. He would go on to fight as a pro 3 more times and final his record with 55 wins, 35 by knockout, 11 losses, and 8 draws. Jack Johnson was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. Hey, boys and girls, that concludes our show for today. Thanks for all the input. We had some fun today, and we'll have some more fun tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. Not turn in. I turn into bed when I go to bed. No, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.